Welcome students. Today we'll be concluding our lessons on textile. So in this class we will be discussing natural fibers, the types, properties and uses. We're also going to be discussing construction, reproduction of textiles and also laundering of fabrics. These are what we are going to be looking at on the textile today. So what are natural fibers? These are fibers that are obtained from nature. They are gotten from two main sources, which are the plant sources and the animal sources. Animal sources include your wool and your silk. So now let's talk about the wool. Wool is an animal fiber that is gotten from the hair of flakes of sheep or goats. The wool as a whole is coated with a wax mixture known as lanolin, which is also called wool grease, which is waterproof or dirt-proof. Now the properties of wool are: it has a scaly appearance, it is elastic and springy to touch, it makes a very absorbent fabric, it is stronger when dry than when wet. Wool fabric has large number of hair spaces between the fiber, so therefore it is warm to wear as it retains body heat. Now silk. Silk is an animal fiber that is made from the cocoon of silkworms. There are two main types of silk, which are the mulberry silk and the wild silk. Properties of silk include: 1. It is a very strong fiber. 2. It is warm to touch. 3. It is an expensive fiber. 4. It is weak when wet. And 5. It absorbs moisture readily. Now let's discuss plant fiber. These fibers are obtained from plant sources. Examples are your cotton, your linen, etc. Of course, we are going to be discussing them and their properties one after the other. So now let's discuss cotton. This is a plant fiber that is made from cotton balls of the cotton plant. The cotton fiber surrounds the seeds of the cotton plant. So now let's take a look at the properties of cotton. 1. It is reasonably strong and durable. 2. It wrinkles quickly but it irons very well. 3. It is cool and comfortable to wear. 4. White cotton can be bleached. 5. Cotton fiber does not fray easily and it also does not slip when sewing. These are the properties of cotton. The next fiber that we are going to be looking at is the linen fiber. The linen is a vegetable fiber that is obtained from the stem of flax plants. Okay, now let's take a look at the properties of linen. It is stronger than cotton. It increases in strength when wet. It is a good conductor of heat, so it therefore carries heat away from the body. It is absorbent and cool to wear. Cotton dries slowly, and also cotton can stand high temperature. Now we are going to be looking at the uses of natural fibers. Natural fibers can be used for the following. It can be used for making hand gloves. It can be used for making skirts. It can be used for making dresses. It can be used for making finishes and decorations. It can be used for making your braid, your underwears, your blankets, your cardigan, your belts, your raincoats, your bandages, your sportswear, etc. Now let's look at production and construction of textiles. This simply means how we can make textiles. The first one we'll be looking at is weaving. This method involves interlacing a set of longer thread, which is called the warp, with a set of crossing thread, which is called the weft. This is done on a frame or machine known as loom. Woven fabrics are very strong fabrics. The next is knitting. Knitting involves the interlacing of loops of yarn which are formed on a knitting needle. It is the process of constructing fabrics by forming rows of loops with the yarn. The loops support each other like a chain. Next, we are going to be looking at crocheting. This is the process of constructing fabrics by making a chain of loop from a single yarn using just one hook or needle. Crocheting never has more than one active loop on the needle. Crocheting is done with one pin, while knitting is done with two pins. Now to laundering of fabrics. Laundering of fabrics simply talks about how to care and maintain your different fabrics. First is cotton. The cotton fabric is very simple to wash because it gets softer and more absorbent with every wash. For cotton, you have to wash similar colors together and always turn your clothes inside out when you want to dry them. If you choose to use bleach, use non-chlorine bleach because it is not a very strong type of bleach, and remove from the dryer preferably when still damp. When ironing cotton, press with a warm to hot iron while still damp, and if it is dried, use a spray bottle to dampen the fabric before you iron it. Now let's move to the care of silk. Silk is a very expensive fabric. So for you to wash it, you have to follow the instructions. And wash the cloth with gentle liquid soap. Wash dark colors separately. Avoid bleaching, and also make sure you dry in a shade because prolonged exposure to the sun can cause fading. Okay, do not store silk in a plastic bag because silk needs air. Now when ironing it, use a warm. Now to the care of wool. Avoid squeezing, which causes the scale on the fibers to interlock. Wool is very elastic, so avoid stretching the fabric when wet. Do not store wool in a plastic bag. When ironing wool, if you need to remove any wrinkles, you can press the item with a damp cloth and use a steam iron. Do not use a very hot iron on your wool fabrics. Alright, great minds, we have come to the end of this lesson. If there is anything you don't understand concerning this topic, feel free to ask your question. And don't forget to attempt the questions on your content pages and quizzes. Till we meet again in our next lesson. Bye. And remember, hard work pays.